Rain hammered the hotel lobby windows. I stood there, soaked to the bone, my shoes squelching on the worn carpet after the family dinner imploded, Lena's sharp words still echoing in my head from our breakup 6 months back. The clerk slid over one key card, her face apologetic. Booking error. Only one room left. And it was with Mia, Lena's younger sister, the one who'd always watched me a little too closely at gatherings. My stomach twisted. Old resentments bubbled up, mixed with something sharper, unspoken. I took the card, heart pounding in time with the thunder outside. We headed down the dim hallway, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and wet earth. Mia's shoulder brushed mine once, accidental, but it lingered. The room door clicked shut behind us, sealing out the storm but trapping everything else inside. It was the kind of place that screamed budget, faded wallpaper peeling at the edges, 2 narrow beds pushed against opposite walls, and a single lamp casting long shadows across the threadbare carpet. The air conditioning hummed faintly, a low drone that did nothing to cut the humidity seeping through the cracks. Rain lashed the window like fingers scraping glass, relentless. I dropped my bag by the bed nearest the door, keeping distance. Mia did the same on the other side, her movements deliberate, like she was measuring the space between us. I'd known Mia for years, but never like this. Not face-to-face without Lena's buffer, without the family noise to drown out the quiet pull I'd always ignored. She was a year younger than her sister, with the same dark hair, but hers fell in loose waves that caught the dim light now, damp and clinging to her neck. She worked as a mechanic back home, hands always stained with grease, but tonight they looked clean, fingers flexing as she unzipped her duffel. I remembered the breakup with Lena, those final arguments in her apartment, the way she'd accused me of never being fully there. Mia had been the one to show up at my door a week later, dropping off Lena's things with a nod and nothing else. No judgment, just those eyes, steady and unreadable. I turned away, peeling off my wet jacket, hanging it over the chair by the desk. The fabric dripped steadily onto the floor, pooling like my thoughts. Why her? Why now? The family event, a cousin's wedding, had been tense enough with Lena glaring from across the table, but the storm had stranded us here, 2 hours from home. I shook out my shirt, the cool air hitting my skin, raising goosebumps. Mia was doing the same, her back to me as she rummaged in her bag. The room felt smaller already, the hum of the AC mixing with the rain's rhythm, steady but insistent. She straightened, holding a dry sweater, and that's when it happened. I reached for my own bag at the same moment, our shoulders brushing, solid, warm through the thin fabric of her damp shirt. It wasn't much, just a graze, but my breath caught, the contact sending a spark up my arm. Electric, like touching a live wire in the rain. I pulled back fast, but not before seeing her pause, her hand stilling on the sweater's hem. The air shifted, thicker now, charged. She didn't say anything, just met my eyes for a split second in the mirror above the dresser. Hers were dark, unflinching, holding mine longer than they should. We both looked away. Minimal words passed, something about the storm, the lousy luck of it all, but they hung awkward, unnecessary. I focused on unpacking, folding damp clothes onto the bed, the fabric heavy and cold in my hands. Her breath was steady across the room, syncing with mine in the quiet, in and out, like the rain outside. I could smell her now, damp hair mixed with the faint, clean bite of hotel soap from the bathroom, something generic and sharp. It cut through the musty room air, pulling me in despite myself. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the window where rain blurred the parking lot lights into smears. Mia moved to the other bed, her weight making the springs creak softly. The silence stretched, not empty but full, pressing in. I'd always wondered about her, those family dinners where she'd linger after Lena pulled me away, her questions about my job, my drives through the countryside, probing but gentle. Now, trapped here, those wonders felt dangerous, close to the surface. The storm deepened outside, wind rattling the frame, forcing us into this shared quiet that thickened the air between the beds. No escape. Not tonight. I settled onto my bed, the mattress dipping under my weight. springs groaning like they resented the intrusion. The comforter was thin, worn smooth from too many hands, and I traced its faded floral patterns with my fingertip. Anything to keep my eyes from wandering across the room. Mia mirrored me on her side, legs crossed, staring at the ceiling as if it held answers. The distance between the beds felt deliberate, a no-man's land we both guarded. Rain pounded harder now, a steady drum that filled the gaps where words should have been. She shifted, the creak of her bed cutting through the hum of the AC. I glanced up despite myself, catching the way her damp shirt clung to her shoulders, outlining the quiet strength from years wrenching engines. Her arms were crossed, fingers drumming a slow rhythm on her elbow. I looked away fast, heat creeping up my neck. This was Mia, Lena's sister, the one who'd fixed my car last summer without asking for a dime, her hands sure and stained, voice calm as she explained the timing belt. I'd thanked her, but the memory stuck, the way her eyes had lingered when she handed back the keys. Thunder cracked outside, sharp enough to rattle the window frame. Lights flickered once, twice, then plunged the room into gray shadow. The AC died with a final whine, leaving only the storm's roar. I sat up, pulse quickening in the sudden dark. Shit, I muttered, fumbling for my phone on the nightstand. Its screen glowed faint, casting blue light across the walls. Mia was a silhouette against the window, her outline sharp in the flashes of lightning. She moved then, quiet steps toward the closet by the bathroom. I heard the door creak open, her hand sliding along the shelf. "Candles," she said, voice low, pulling out a couple of emergency ones the hotel must have stashed. Matches scratched, flames sputtering to life. She lit them, one by one, placing them on the dresser. The warm flicker danced across her face, softening the edges, highlighting the curve of her jaw as she turned. Strong, unyielding, like the rest of her. My breath hitched. I forced my gaze to the flame instead, watching wax begin to pool. The power outage stretched, the room holding its breath with us. Cold seeped in from the window, raising chills on my arms. I rubbed them, wishing for the AC's hum back. Mia shivered too, visible in the candlelight, her thin shirt no match for the damp chill. She eyed the closet again. "Blanket," she said, more to herself, reaching up. I stood before I thought better, crossing the no-man's land to help. Our hands met on the wool fold hanging from the shelf, hers warm, calloused from tools, mine colder, softer. A graze, knuckles brushing, and my throat tightened. Breath caught, sharp in the quiet. She didn't pull away first. Neither did I. The blanket tumbled down between us, heavy and rough. We spread it on the floor between the beds, a makeshift barrier or bridge, I couldn't tell. Sitting cross-legged on it, knees inches from hers, the candles threw shadows that played across her hands as she folded them in her lap. "This sucks," she said finally, voice gravelly, like tires crunching over loose stones back home. "The storm, being stuck." "Yeah," I nodded, the word hanging. "Family pressures." That's what flickered in her eyes now, post-breakup weight. Lena had always been the golden one, expectations heavy as engine blocks. Mia, the fixer, the one who held things together without complaint. Lena's been intense lately, she admitted, gaze on the flame. Pushing me about the shop, dates, like I need to catch up. Her fingers tightened, knuckles whitening. Low words, but they carried the strain, the resilience that pulled at me. I wanted to reach out, cover that hand, feel the warmth against my palm. But I held back, nails digging into my thigh instead. The itch was there, insistent, like static before a spark. Lightning flashed again, thunder rolling close. Her shoulder brushed mine in the flinch. Accidental. Warm. I froze, the contact lingering in the air between us. The power surged back on with a buzz. Lights harsh overhead, AC kicking in cold. But the darkness stayed inside, pooling in the corners of our glances. Questions about the past hovered, hesitant, waiting for the next crack in the silence. The lights buzzed back to life, but the room stayed dim, the overhead bulb weak against the storm's gray. I shifted on the blanket, knees still close to hers, the wool rough under my palms. Power or no power, the air hung heavy, questions pressing like the humidity. I wanted answers, about Lena, about why those old feelings lingered like oil stains on concrete, hard to scrub clean. But loyalty tied my tongue, a knot of betrayal fear twisting tighter. Mia's eyes flicked to mine, unflinching in the renewed light, waiting. "Tell me about now," I said, words stumbling out, rough as gravel. "Your life, the shop, anything." She leaned closer on the bed's edge, her weight shifting the mattress springs with a soft creak. The space between us shrank, her knee brushing the blanket's fold near mine. I held my breath, the question hanging, pulling her in. She exhaled slow, gaze dropping to her hands, fingers interlacing tight. The shop's steady. Long days under hoods, oil in my nails no matter how I scrub. Her voice was low, deliberate, each word measured. But after you and Lena, it's been quiet. Family stuff piles on. Mom asking when I'll settle, like fixing cars isn't enough. She paused, eyes lifting to meet mine, deep and steady. I leaned in without thinking, drawn by the pull in her tone. Her hand moved then, resting on my shoulder for emphasis, palm warm through the thin cotton of my shirt. Heat seeped in, steady and sure, like an engine warming up. My skin prickled under the touch, breath shallow as I fought the urge to cover it with mine. "I watched you two," she said, voice dropping softer. "From the edges. The way she'd light up around you, then dim when things frayed. I wondered if you saw it coming." Vulnerability cracked her words, raw as exposed wiring. Her fingers pressed lightly, not pulling away, thumb brushing the seam of my sleeve. I swallowed, the warmth spreading, chest tight. I didn't. Or maybe I did, but ignored it. Honesty slipped out, blocked no more by the night's press. Her eyes held mine, unflinching, deep pools reflecting the candle's dying flicker. Breath mingled in the narrowing space, mine quick, hers even, but edged. The hotel clock on the nightstand ticked, a warning pulse, steady against the rain's fade. She nodded, hand lingering a beat longer before sliding away, leaving cool air in its wake. "Lena's tough, but you carried it quiet." Revelation hung there, her gaze probing, seeing through the guard I'd built. I wanted to ask more, about her watches, those family glances that lingered too long, but the words stuck, fear of betrayal coiling back. Thunder rolled distant now, rumbling through the walls. It pulled us both up, drawn to the window like magnets. We stood side by side, shoulders inches apart, watching lightning streak the sky. Rain sheeted down, blurring the lot below into silver streaks. Her arm brushed mine, accidental, warm again, and neither moved. The confessions paused, but the air thickened further, breaths sinking in the glass's reflection, eyes meeting there, unspoken. I turned slightly, her profile sharp in the flash, jaw set, lips parted just enough. The pull deepened, forbidden threads weaving tighter in the storm's hush. Clock ticked on, pulse matching mine, urging toward whatever came next in the dim. We lingered by the window a moment longer, the glass cool against my palm where I'd braced it without realizing. Thunder grumbled away now, leaving the rain in a steady patter, like it was settling in for the long haul. Mia's arm stayed close, the warmth of her skin radiating through the scant inches between us. I could feel the rise and fall of her breathing, sinking with mine, deeper in the quiet. The pull was there, insistent, urging me to close the gap. Desire for closeness tugged at me, forbidden but real, like the hum of an engine idling too long under my hood. I stepped back first, breaking the spell, but not the tension. "Should sit," I said, voice low, gesturing to the carpet between the beds. The blanket was still spread there, rumpled from earlier, inviting in its makeshift way. She nodded, easing down without a word, legs folding under her as she settled cross-legged. I mirrored her, knees almost touching the wool's edge, close enough that the heat from her body cut through the room's chill. The carpet was rough under my palms, threads worn thin, grounding me as I fought the urge to shift nearer. Her knee brushed the blanket's fold near mine, accidental, or maybe not, and neither of us moved to correct it. Small talk felt safer, a barrier against the thickening air. Storm's easing, I tried, eyes on the window, voice casual as I could manage. Won't last all night. She hummed agreement, but her gaze didn't follow mine. Instead, it locked on her hands, folding and unfolding in her lap, fingers tracing the creases of her palms like she was mapping something hidden. Calluses roughened the edges, remnants of her days at the shop, twisting wrenches and coaxing engines to life. I watched despite myself, the way her thumbs pressed in, deliberate, the faint tremor in the movement. My own hands itched, empty at my sides, wanting to cover hers, feel that steady pressure against my skin. Lightning cracked sudden outside, a white flash that lit the room stark, illuminating her face in sharp relief. Jaw tight, eyes wide for a split second, shadows carving hollows under her cheekbones. The thunder followed, rumbling low, vibrating through the floor. She flinched, just enough that her shoulder tensed, breath catching sharp. Without thinking, I reached out, my hand landing tentative on her arm. Reassurance, light as I could make it. Skin warm under my fingers, muscle taut beneath the damp sleeve, giving slightly to my touch. Her eyes snapped to mine, unflinching now, dark and searching. The contact held, my thumb brushing once, accidental, along the fabric seam. Heat bloomed there, spreading up my arm, breath shallow in my chest, but I pulled away too quickly, hand dropping to the blanket like it had burned. Silence crashed in heavy, thicker than the rain's drone. Unspoken attraction hanging like damp air after a downpour. Clinging, impossible to shake. My heart thudded against my ribs, loud in my ears, wondering if she heard it, if she felt the same forbidden pull twisting inside. Loyalty to Lena clawed back, a block as solid as rusted bolts, but the want lingered, sharp and real. Mia's gaze stayed on me, steady, her hand stilling in her lap, fingers curling loose. No words, but the question flickered there. What now, in this space we'd carved between us? I stood abrupt, needing air, the room too close, too charged. Balcony, I muttered, nodding toward the sliding door by the window. She rose too, silent, following as I pushed it open. Rain misted in immediate, cool droplets kissing my skin, blurring the lines further. The night air was thick, scented with wet pavement and distant pine from the highway edge. We leaned on the railing side by side, shoulders inches apart again, the storm's remnants washing over us. Her breath evened out beside me, mingling with mine in the damp. But the pull didn't fade. It sharpened, waiting for the next flash to break through. The mist clung to our skin, cool and insistent, as we stood on the balcony railing, the night air heavy with the scent of wet asphalt rising from the parking lot below. Mia's shoulder hovered near mine, close enough that I felt the shift when she exhaled, her breath cutting through the damp like a quiet anchor. The storm had softened to a drizzle, but the isolation pressed in harder now. The highway lights blurred into halos, no one else around for miles. It amplified everything. The old attractions I'd buried under loyalty and time, now surfacing raw in this forced closeness. I glanced at her profile, jaw set against the chill, and admitted it low, almost to the rain. This night, it's making things louder. What I've ignored before. She nodded, slow, her eyes on the horizon where thunder still flickered faint. Mutual awareness hung there, unspoken but clear in the way her fingers gripped the railing, knuckles pale. No denial, just that steady gaze turning to mine, unflinching, confirming she felt it too, the pull sharpening in the quiet. My pulse matched the rain's rhythm, steady but edged, stakes rising with every shared breath. Family ties bound us still, Lena's shadow long, but here, in this limbo, the barriers thinned. Chill seeped deeper, raising goosebumps along my arms. I rubbed them, water dripping from my hair onto my collar. Mia shivered too, her damp shirt sticking to her shoulders, outlining the quiet strength I'd always noticed from afar. "Come on," I said, voice rough from the cold. "Inside before we freeze." She followed without protest, the sliding door whispering shut behind us, sealing the mist out but trapping the charge within. The room felt smaller now. The candles burned low on the dresser, wax hardened in uneven pools. I grabbed a towel from my bag, the fabric rough and dry, and held it out to her first. "Your hair. It's soaked." She paused, then turned her back slightly, letting me step closer. I draped the towel over her head, fingers working through the strands, gentle at first, then firmer to blot the water away. The motion brought me near, my chest inches from her back, the faint scent of rain on her clothes mixing with that clean soap from earlier, sharp, pulling me in. My knuckles brushed her neck, accidental. Skin warm there despite the chill, soft under the damp waves. Breath shallowed, shared in the space between us, mine quick against her ear. I froze, towel still in hand, the contact lingering, electric without intent, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she turned into the touch, slow, her head tilting just enough that her cheek grazed my fingers. Eyes met mine over her shoulder, quiet intensity in the dark depths. No words needed to bridge the gap. The world narrowed to that gaze, unflinching, holding secrets we'd both guarded. Her resilience cracking open, mine yielding to the draw. It felt like uncharted territory, this presence of hers, safe in its familiarity, yet risky as driving blind on back roads at night. One wrong turn and everything shifted. But the warmth under my fingertips, the way her pulse fluttered faint at her neck, made the risk hum alive, undeniable. I let the towel drop to her shoulders, hands hovering a beat too long, tracing the line of her collar without pressing. Her breath hitched, sinking ragged with mine, the air thickening like fog rolling in from the fields back home. Emotional depth settled heavy. Years of sidelong glances at family tables, her fixing my tire in the driveway while Lena was inside. Those moments I'd chalked up to nothing. Now, her nearness felt like mapping new ground, resilient and raw, the kind of safe that tempted you to leap anyway. I wanted to trace that jaw, feel the steady beat beneath, but held back, nails digging into my palms instead. The chill clung still, seeping from our clothes, urging movement. "Couch," she murmured, first word since the balcony, nodding to the single worn piece by the window. We moved together, drawn by the need for warmth, settling close, her thigh pressing the cushion near mine, heat bleeding through the fabric. The room's dim light caught the droplets on her skin, one sliding down her temple, and I reached without thinking, thumb brushing it away soft on her cheek. She leaned in fraction, eyes locking again, the shared vulnerability coiling tighter, breaths mingling in the narrowing space. No rush, just the slow burn building, isolation stripping away the last guards. Thunder rumbled distant, but inside the real storm brewed, pulling us nearer on that sagging couch, hands inches from touching, waiting for the next spark. The couch sagged under our weight, springs protesting soft as we settled deeper, thighs pressing the worn cushions together. Heat built there, steady from her body, cutting through the damp chill that still clung to my skin. I wanted to bridge it all, the gap of years, the forbidden lines etched by family and past promises. Memories of Lena clawed back, her laughter in better days. The way she'd lean into me at those gatherings, oblivious to Mia's quiet watches from the kitchen doorway. Ties bound us tight, sisters woven into the same thread, pulling against any cut I'd dare make. But here, in this dim room, with rain whispering fade outside, the want overrode, sharp as a wrench slipping in my grip. I shifted nearer, deliberate now, the cushion dipping to close the inches. My hand lifted, hovering near hers where it rested on her knee, palm upturned like an offering. Her wrist lay exposed in the low light, pulse visible under the skin, a steady thrum, quickening as my fingers brushed the air above it. Warmth radiated, drawing me in, the faint scent of her soap mingling with the wool of the blanket we'd abandoned. Breath caught in my throat, shallow, as I watched that beat, wondering if it raced for the same reasons mine did. Loyalty, cracking under the weight of this pull. Family shadows lengthening, but not enough to block the light between us. She didn't move away. Instead, her fingers twitched, curling slight toward mine, the calluses' roughened edges catching the lamp's glow. "What if," she whispered, voice low against my ear, breath warm and ragged in the dim. Consequences hung there, unspoken but heavy. Lena's hurt, the shop talks turning to whispers in town, Mom's disappointed eyes at the next dinner. Her words brushed my skin, sending a shiver down my neck, not from cold but the nearness, the doubt threading through like rust in old pipes. I turned my head fraction, lips inches from her temple, the air between thickening, breath sinking uneven. "This changes everything," she added, softer, her exhale stirring the hair at my ear. The complications settled, real and raw, blocking but not stopping, the forbidden hum louder now. Doubt coiled in me too, a block as solid as the engine blocks she lifted daily, but her warmth undid it slow. I let my hand drop, fingertips grazing her wrist light, feeling that pulse jump under the touch. Skin soft there, warmer than expected, veins tracing faint paths I wanted to follow. She inhaled sharp, eyes flicking to mine, unflinching in the shadows. Revelation cracked open then, her voice dropping to gravel. "I've wondered," she admitted, words deliberate, "about this. You. From the edges, always." Long-held curiosity spilled out, no guard left, her gaze deep and steady, pulling me under. Fingers moved, deliberate slowness, intertwining with mine, hers strong, gripping firm but trembling faint at the edges. Calluses pressed into my palm, grounding, the contact sealing something we'd both circled for years. Tension peaked there, eyes locked in the dim, her dark ones holding mine without blink, mirroring the storm's fade outside. Rumbles distant now, but the shake in her hand echoed it, trembling against my skin. Pulse thrummed through our joined fingers, mine matching hers, ragged breaths filling the space. The world narrowed to that grip, the warmth spreading up my arm, chest tight with the pull, want overriding blocks, family ties straining but not snapping yet. Her thumb brushed mine once, slow circle, sending sparks along my nerves, breath hitching shared between us. No words, just the lock of gazes, unflinching, the forbidden alive in every tremor. A knock shattered it, sharp at the door. Hotel staff's voice muffled through the wood, checking on the outage. We froze, hands parting slow, the charge lingering like static on wool. She stood first, crossing to answer, her back to me as the door cracked open to fluorescent hall light. Voices low, assurances given, door clicking shut again. The reset came, air cooling slight, but the erasure didn't. Her fingers flexed at her sides, pulse still visible, eyes meeting mine across the room with quiet promise. Storm outside hushed to drips, but inside the pull hummed on, waiting. The shake in her hand, a memory burned into my palm. The door clicked shut behind the staff, their footsteps fading down the hall, leaving the room to settle back into its hush. Fluorescent light from the corridor had spilled in brief, harsh, but now the dim lamp reclaimed the space, shadows pooling soft around the furniture. Mia turned from the door, her silhouette framed in the glow, eyes finding mine across the carpet. The knock had reset us, hands parted, breath steadied, but the charge hummed on, invisible wires stretched taut between. Consequences loom now, clear as the rain-slicked window. This shift, irreversible, lines crossed that family ties couldn't uncross. Lena's face flickered in my mind, hurt sharp, but the pull toward Mia overrode it, stronger than the fear of fallout, like gravity pulling debris after a crash. I stood from the couch, legs unsteady, crossing the space in 3 steps. She didn't move, just watched, unflinching, as I stopped inches away. The air thickened again, her breath visible in the chill, quick and shallow. Awareness hit full. Whatever came next would rewrite everything. No going back to sidelong glances at dinners, to pretending the spark was just static. But the want burned deeper, defying the shadows of past promises, loyalty fraying like worn belts under strain. My hand lifted, slow, deliberate, cupping her face gentle, palm fitting the curve of her cheek. Skin warm there, soft despite the calluses on my fingers, thumb tracing her jawline light, following the line from ear to chin. She leaned into it fraction, eyes closing brief, lashes dark against her skin. Breath synced then, ragged harmony in the narrowing gap, mine hitching as hers warmed my wrist. The scent of rain clung to her still, mixed with that faint soap, pulling me closer. No words, just the pressure of my thumb, circling slow along her jaw, feeling the muscle tense, then yield. Her hand rose, covering mine, trembling at the edges but steady at the core, fingers pressing my palm firmer against her cheek. The contact sealed it, unspoken promise in the grip, her pulse thudding under my touch, matching the thud in my chest. Vulnerability cracked open wide, no more hiding from the truth in her gaze as her eyes opened, locking on mine, deep and raw. Resilience met mine there, the fixer in her yielding to this, embracing the risk without flinch. Emotional payoff settled quiet, certainty blooming in the chest-tight space. This connection defied the past's shadows. Lena's ghost fading against the realness of her warmth. Years of buried pulls surfaced, authentic now. No buffers left. I traced higher, thumb brushing her temple, damp strands sticking there, her breath ghosting my lips as she tilted closer. Hands stayed joined, hers over mine, trembling faint but holding, the shake a confession of its own. The room blurred at edges, world narrowing to her face under my palm. The way her lips parted slight, inviting without demand. Fear of fallout lingered, family whispers waiting outside this night. But the pull anchored stronger, vulnerability embraced like a tool finally fitting the hand. Dawn crept slow, storm easing to drips against the pane. First light filtering gray through the curtains. It illuminated us there, still close. Her hands steady now over mine, the new reality etched in the soft glow. Connection forged, irreversible. Breaths evening as the night gave way. Light filtered stronger now, gray dawn pushing through the curtains, softening the room's edges. We stood there, my hand still cupping her face, her fingers over mine. The tremble faded into steady warmth. Eyes locked in the growing glow, unflinching, her dark ones holding mine without rush, processing the night's unraveling. No words needed, the gaze said it. Release from the build, tension uncoiling slow, like a spring finally easing. Breaths evened, sinking deep, the air lighter but laced with what we'd forged. Her thumb brushed my wrist once, deliberate, before hands parted, gradual, palms sliding away but the connection lingering, etched in skin memory. Pulse echoes faint between us. I stepped back first, the carpet rough under my feet, giving space to breathe. She nodded, small, turning to the window where rain dripped final from the sill. The storm had passed, highway sounds creeping in, trucks rumbling distant, world waking. We moved then, companionable silence settling, no awkwardness left, just quiet accord. I gathered my clothes from the bed, folding them neat into my bag, the fabric drier now, scent of damp earth fading. Mia did the same across the room, her movements sure, unzipping her duffel with that mechanic's precision, hands flexing as she tucked away the sweater from last night. Glances crossed the space, brief but loaded, affirming the shift. No regrets, just the agreement hanging unspoken. This night wasn't the end, but a door cracked open to explore beyond. Careful steps into whatever waited. Packing done, bags zipped, we sat on the bed's edge, shoulders close again, the mattress dipping, shared. Final stakes pressed in, the drive home, Lena's questions at the next family call, small town eyes that missed nothing. Facing the world outside loomed, concrete and unyielding, but the intimacy here fortified us, a quiet strength built in confinement's press. Her presence beside me felt solid, like the shop tools she wielded daily, reliable against the unknown. I processed it internal, the night's truths surfacing raw. Buried pulls no longer ignored, loyalty to Lena yielding to this authentic draw, vulnerability embraced in her steady gaze. The forbidden had cracked open something real, resilient in us both. Her, watching from edges, now met head-on. My guards down, breaths shared, no more hidden. She shifted, elbow brushing mine light, and a laugh broke the quiet. Low, gravelly, like tires finding dry road after mud. "That was something," she said, voice warm, eyes crinkling at the corners. It pulled a smile from me, chest loosening further, the sound cutting through reflection like sunlight on wet pavement. Her hand rested near mine on the comforter, fingers loose, inviting without demand. I covered it brief, squeeze firm, feeling the calluses again, grounding. Numbers exchanged then, phones pulled from pockets, digits tapped slow, a shared glance sealing it. Hint of future meetings, coffee in some neutral spot, away from family shadows. Her eyes held promise there, unflinching, the laugh lingering in the air between. We rose together, bags slung over shoulders, the room behind us now just walls and echoes. Door opened to brighter hall, world pulling us out. But the fortification stayed. Intimacy's quiet certainty carrying forward. Steps synced as we headed to checkout. Her hand shook mine at checkout, fingers lingering with quiet promise, pulse steady under the skin. If this kind of hidden tension resonates, share your story below and subscribe for more tales of unexpected connections.